we'll keep that bit in eventually. That's cool. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to the 1% podcast. I'm excited for this one because we're going to find out some dirty little secrets in this one. No, we're not actually, but no, I'm honestly really, really excited for this one. I have got Kate and Connor accomplished. That sounded like a married couple, didn't it? My bad.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. I've got Kate and Connor on the podcast today. So honestly, like, I feel like I know you guys reasonably well. But for anyone that doesn't know you and who you are, what you do, I guess like if you got into a taxi and the guy's like, what do you do? What do you do? Who is Kate and Connor?
Usually I kind of avoid that question, don't I? When someone's like, what do you do? Rather than getting into it, I'm like, I just fitness. Just do a bit of fitness. But I suppose like really like obviously we own Team Accomplished, so it is a coaching company that we have had established since 2017. So we've been running that for quite a number of years now, along with obviously the bodybuilding side as well, which we both are heavily involved in. So yeah, that is kind of what we do in a nutshell, really.
Quick taxi.
Quick taxi.
For a taxi driver, it's like, I actually don't want to talk to them, so that's what I just do fitness. That's the best way.
Yeah, fitness. Easy. Just do a bit of fitness.
So I guess kind of like I like to kind of bring these back a little bit. And I kind of roughly know, because actually I listened to, obviously you guys did the one at Mark's weekend as well. So I kind of got to know a little bit about you there, but we can kind of dabble into it a little bit. I guess like, let's bring it back to kind of for both of you, like high school, the beginning of high school. So like what, 11, 12 years old sort of thing? Maybe, I don't know. Is that the same in Ireland, high school? So that's
12,
yeah. What was it like for you guys? Obviously both of you in Ireland. What was family life like? All this sort of stuff. So that kind of age period.
We're both totally very different. So we're actually are like the way that things were similar, but also we're both quite different, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like for me, I think like early teens was fine, you know, like it was very, very normal, like in school or whatever. But then it kind of got to the point where like I was like the confident person on the outside, but not so much on the inside, you know, and I'm very open about that. Like I kind of said at Mark's event, I kind of talk it a lot, even on my own YouTube and stuff, that the older I got, kind of coming into like pre-teen versus like 15, 16, 17, the more like following the crowd I became, because I felt like that was what I needed to do in order to kind of fit in. And I feel like a lot of people go through those hard times in school, and I definitely did. Like, although I was like, we'd say like in a very good group of people, like I was very well known in school, but at the same time it was almost like a facade, because it was like I didn't believe it myself, you know, that kind of way. So there was a lot of confidence on the external, but internally there was like a void, you know, a lot of like the way I spoke to myself and like how I viewed myself wasn't how I was perceived, you know?
Yeah. And Conor, were you the same, or were you very opposite at that age?
For me, I think the biggest thing was probably like looking back now. Obviously you wouldn't know it at the time, but looking back, it's like probably searching for identity at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that age, you probably know as well, like sport is such a huge thing. So, you know, the rugby player, like the really good soccer player, the really good golfer. And for me, I probably wasn't really good at anything. So I was kind of like, it wasn't that like I had a great group of friends and everything was good on that end, but I probably wasn't like a specific, like I didn't feel like I had a full identity of who I was. So when I kind of got to 14, 15, getting into the gym, that's when I kind of found my identity, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be the guy who like is the best at going to the gym, going to be like have the most muscle in terms of like guys in my year. Like I was like, okay, that's my like formed identity, and that's probably because I know Kay mentioned about kind of like following the crowd. That almost led me in the opposite way of like not following the crowd and going on this like very much like solo route of my discipline, my routine, because this is like the person, because I was passionate about it, because I loved it. But kind of that probably led me to being quite a disciplined person at quite a young age, because I was kind of finding my identity and my passion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Because I know obviously I spoke, like obviously you guys, I think what's quite nice about you guys, especially now that you almost like bounce really well off each other, almost because you're not opposite in a sense, but like I think you said it into the gym. I think we talked about it in the gym the other day, like how with Kate, it was like how you're quite anxious with this, but then Connor's not anxious with this, and it kind of
Yeah,
levels you out, sort of thing. So
yeah.
when did you both, I guess for you, Kate, like what made you feel like that at a young age? Like kind of that, I guess that loss of identity, who you were.
No, I think because I reflect on it like quite a lot when I tell the story, and it's something that I am fully not sure of. I don't know, is it like things going on in like my personal life with like family and parents separating, and there was a lot of trauma around that, of course, naturally as like a young teen and having to deal with that. But I was very much from a young age very headstrong, so like no matter what, even now, like my world could be like crumbling down, there could be so much happening, you will never know, because I'm always someone that can put on that face and that can be strong for others. So I think I learned that from like a very, very young age. So for me, I don't actually look to that as like a negative. I did at the time. Like again, like Conor said, trying to find an identity, but now I see it as a strength, because it actually taught me how to manage my emotion no matter how I'm feeling. Good, and it can be a good and a bad trait from time to time, because you know, like I can handle my emotion almost too well sometimes. But like when we go into like when we kind of got a bit older, like Conor found his discipline quite young. Like I actually didn't really find mine until 22-ish. So that's when I started to come to life. So I was very lost between 18 and 21, like super lost. And people can go through that, you know, like I think people in society now feel you have to have everything figured out, you leave school and that's it. And there's so much pressure on people and they end up feeling so overwhelmed, they feel lost, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, okay, like I was partying, like I was enjoying, I was going like working in America, I was doing like crazy things, but I was still in university, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And like that's also okay, like to not know what you want to do, like you don't have to have it all figured out. But like at 2022, that's where I feel like I was like reborn, if that makes sense, you know. That's really where I found myself.
What was that kind of light bulb moment? Do you remember kind of that moment, like that 2022? Was there like that epiphany, or was it, do you just think it was a compounding effect and it's just like, boom?
Yeah, like there was like a key. I think it was the first time I went to the gym. It was the first time I went into the gym, and I remember it like honestly clear as day. When I went in for the first time, and I remember the university gym. It was all guys downstairs, was always in the weight room, right? So everyone was in the weight room, and upstairs was like where the cardio was, and it was like that was like my comfort zone. And I think a big thing for me was saying, okay, I'm going to go down to like the guys part of the gym, you know. So, and I think a lot of girls like who are starting off can relate to that, you know. There's a lot of fear around going in, everyone's going to look at me, and like that's how I felt. And I remember I just went straight to the squat bar. I was like, I want to grow my legs, because I was like honestly like chipstick thin. And I was like, right, I just really want to grow. I was sick of how I looked. And I just really wanted to try. I didn't know anything. I didn't have great knowledge. I was doing sports in university, but I was only just new, like just starting. So I didn't know what I was doing. But I just knew that I wanted to get good at this and grow. And that was like the first time I put the barbell on my back, and I literally was like, I have a video of it, like my legs were shaking and very, very embarrassing. But you know, I grew from that, and that I think was my moment to say, right, oh my God, why have I not been doing this? Because I got excited about it. I get a thrill off things that I'm bad at, because I want to get really good at it, you know. So that kind of got me going.
That was the hook. That was it.
That was the hook. That's the hook.
And I guess like Conor, like 15, 16, it's a young age. It's a young age to feel like actually getting discipline at 15, 16. Did that carry on? Like you were kind of setting your ways then and things like that. Like you kind of, not like you knew what you wanted to do and shit like that, but like you had a lot of clarity at a young age.
Yeah, to be honest. I think in a personal sense, yeah, like in terms of like what I want to do from like a physique and a fitness standpoint, and just that idea like progressing. And I think because I went through university, I did 4 years sports science and I did a master's for 1 year. I think going through education, you don't have to think too much because you can always say in like your head, like, oh, I'm still a student, I'm still a student. So
Yeah.
even though I thought I was kind of having things figured out because I was going through like that kind of system, I really didn't know exactly what I wanted. So I was someone who was always focused, always kind of moving forward, but not necessarily that I was like, I know this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do. But I was just so in love with the idea of making progress and like moving forward that I was like, okay, I'm just going to attack what's in front of me and kind of like see where I end up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened from kind of more of like the professional standpoint. But in terms of like the gym and all that, that discipline was kind of rooted with me from pretty much from then onwards, in terms of how I went.
Amazing. Did you both start? Obviously, Conor, you kind of started at like high school training, really.
Yeah.
Like, did you both kind of, that was for both of you, like university was when you kind of got into the gym and you kind of, I guess like your lives kind of opened up quite a lot from those university years sort of thing. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me anyway, definitely. Yeah. I feel like my whole life kind of changed like when I kind of realized, like, I don't have to be, I don't have to be the yes man. I don't have to say yes to everything. Like, I can say no. I don't have to be going out all the time. I don't have to do what my friends are doing because it wasn't making me happy. But I was making myself think that it was making me happy, because that's what everyone's doing. So I think a big thing for me now is I preach it all the time, is just be your own person, like be unique, because that's what makes you flourish. You don't live for everyone else, so
I think something I probably actually haven't said before, but I think because you're saying about kind of finding yourself in university, and for me, I probably lost a bit of myself in like in a way, because for me in high school, I had a really good group of friends. I remember like going into our final year, it was a student vote, and I got voted in as head boy, so like quite popular.
He's the man.
I know he always brings it up.
Quite, but like just to say, like, being a student vote, so you're obviously quite popular around like 150 people in my year. Like there was like 15 people running, so it was, I had that idea of like, I'm in a good group of people, I'm well respected, I'm well liked. And then moving into university, because it was far away, I almost had a mindset of I'm going to kind of pick things up easily. And because maybe like bodybuilding can be kind of isolating, and when you are that disciplined, it can be isolating. I found like, okay, I'm gone through a few months and I don't have the same collective of friends. I'm kind of more of an unknown identity. And that was definitely something that was kind of hard for me to kind of deal with and manage. So that was definitely something I had to work on from a more personal level. So I think that's kind of an important message, because I think at different times in your life, you can be thriving in one area, but you might take a step back in another area. So if someone's personal life's going great, maybe professionally or from a fitness standpoint, it's not. And then it really ramps up a gear professionally, but their social life takes a hit. So I think we're always trying to look to optimize and kind of improve all areas and try to balance them as best as we can. And I think me and a lot of people sometimes have to take a step back and say, okay, yes, this area of my life's going great, but am I really happy and kind of fulfilling what I really want as a person? And I think that's quite an important thing, to always take a step back and say, okay, yes, I'm full focus here, but how are other areas of my life kind of panning out in the way that I want? So that was something I kind of learned from an early age with getting kind of hit with that when I did go to university.
But man, like, what a thing to learn at 19 to 21 years old. Jesus, I'm like, some people don't even realize that until they're 40.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's incredible having that self-awareness. Both of you, to be fair, having that self-awareness, self-awareness. That's the one. At like young ages, really, because like 21 in the grand scheme of things, like 22, like life's just starting then. So when you feel like you had that light bulb moment and you're assessing your life into different like even different kind of categories, it's massive. And obviously that's the reason why now vice versa, people might see Conor and Kate and they're like, oh, they're doing really well, like their businesses are growing, their couple goals, they look incredible, vice versa. But that is just what people see. They don't see what's going on there. Like you just said, Conor, it's like, yeah, great, like things like might look, the business might be going really well, we're earning good money, but who knows, like people's relationships could be on the brisk of being like, that's it, we're done, sort of thing. People don't know that from the outside looking in. So it's a nice thing that you shared. I love that, man. Thank you. I guess from there, like when did you guys meet? You like, okay, so we're at uni. Like when did it click? Where
Conor actually, we won't even, no, don't let him say it, because
she chased me.
I did not. For the record, everyone listen, I did not chase Conor, right? So, okay.
We actually worked in a nightclub together.
I was going to say, this is when we need a separate podcast now. And
two
different opinions.
Two different stories.
Mine's correct. Mine's the most accurate, right? So, we worked in a nightclub together, and Conor, I didn't really want to be friends with Conor. I was like, I had enough friends, you know what I mean? And he still was like, yeah, whatever. And like, we kind of, I don't know how it happened. We just became very close friends. We had a very small circle. Everyone had their own kind of groups in the club at the time. But we just got very, very close. There was about 5 or 6 of us in a group. And one of our very good friends actually ended up, without even realizing it, kind of getting us kind of together, didn't he? So we were very good friends first. And then it kind of just happened.
Did you guys both go to the same university towns, unis, or
so I actually went to university like 2 hours away from we both lived about 15 minutes away from each other, but at the same time I didn't know her till I was 19, 18. So I started in that nightclub when I was 18. So although we lived like really close proximity, we didn't actually know each other because we're in different age groups. Because Kate's a bit of a cougar.
I knew I was waiting for him to say this, Brandon. He does it every time. So
honestly, I would be proud as well. So it's fine.
Yeah, so I was in primary school when she started like nightclubbing.
The best thing is we are not cutting anything out, so it's
no, I know, like, everyone knows, right? There's like about 3.5 year gap, is there? 3.5 years. There we go.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, so I used to come back on the weekends to like go to my home with my family, and I was like, okay, I want some like weekend work. So I happened to get in that nightclub. So we could have easily went, you know, if I decided to get work up by my university, we could have easily not met. So, you know, I suppose everyone kind of looks back and has moments where what could have happened or not happened. But yeah, that was for us. And I think even like Kate, I remember my first fitness post on Instagram. We were only friends at the time. And I remember she commented saying like, well done, because I was actually afraid to post. Because like that's back, you know, Instagram fitness wasn't a huge thing like it is now, you know, it wasn't normal. So I was like really nervous, like, oh God, what will like people think? And you know, I had good enough shape at that time, you know, and she's like, oh, like post, like just do it. And you know, so we had kind of had that support even before we were like anything. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
So when did you were kind of, so when did you kind of, so about 19 for you and Kate, you were like 21, 22?
23.
23. Okay, it's 22.
Okay. And now she's 30, so like we've been together quite a while.
I love how my age is only been brother.
I only 26, guys. It's very young.
I can't listen to it.
So you guys got together pretty much kind of those university years, aren't they? They're uni.
Yeah.
And then you guys have left uni. What did you guys do for work and things like that? Did you go straight into the fitness industry, or did you go into you studied sports science, but did you guys go into those degrees and things like that?
Yeah, so I started off with business, and I was doing business first, finished that, and then I moved into sport because I had a dance background, and that was what I always wanted to do. And everyone thought like, oh, she's gonna go do ballet in university. That's what I thought was going to happen. didn't plan out, and you know, obviously I was gutted. So after that I was like, I need to do something else. So I was actually just doing the sport on the side. I had the business side of things done, and I was like, right, I actually had a very, very good job in the hospital that I was working with. It was full-time, it was permanent, it was an amazing job, and you can scale with that. So I was very happy with where I was at after that. And then, but I also started studying as well at the same time, because I didn't want it to just be that. I need something more. I always need something more. So I think that's where that came in, because I was unfulfilled as well without having dancing or any form of anything. I feel like that's, and because I went in at such a young age, like into a full-time job, I needed something else. And everyone was way older than me in the job as well. Like everyone was like 40, 50. I felt like a child, like, you know. And it was quite intimidating, to be honest with you. It was very, very intimidating. And like I found it hard, and I found it very difficult. Like people were quite aggressive, like people are very like set in their ways, and I've never dealt with that. You know, I've always been around fun, everyone's chilled. So I learned how to be quite strong, and learned how to be quite cutthroat, and, you know, reserve my emotion even more so from that job. But it was tough. It was very, very tough. I was in there, how many years was I there? Like 7 years, something like that, 6 or 7 years. And I got to a very good platform, but it was to the point where I was mentally and physically killing me off. Like I was never happy. You know, I was ringing him on my break. I'm not an emotional person, but I was crying like quite a lot. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I was at that breaking point. So university, then when I was doing sport and stuff, I was like, right, I kind of got into the bodybuilding, and I was getting really into that. And that was something then I thought, like, why don't I pursue this on the side and kind of see where things go? But it wasn't big at the time. Online coaching wasn't big, like nothing was big at this time. So for us, it was we were just doing it for fun. Like it wasn't really like, oh, I'm going to make a career out of it. It was never actually that.
Yeah. I remember when it happened. So I was actually on like work experience with university, and it was like a 9 to 5, but I was probably only working like 9 to 2. So I remember like 2 to 5, I was in the office just like killing away the time. And it was at a point where you probably got it as well around the time we were starting, like, oh, will you make me a plan? And when you hear that from like 2 or 3 people, and you're like, okay, could this be something? And Kay was getting it, I was getting it, and we kind of talked about it. And without really thinking like too deeply on it, we're like, is this something we want to do? And why we didn't have to think too deeply on it is because we only thought it was going to be like a little part-time kind of gig. She's still working full-time in the hospital. I'm planning to go on and like get a job after university. So like, let's just do this for, as Kate said, a bit of fun. And then obviously that kind of like escalated over time. But it's actually like, we still didn't agree it was going to be like a full-time thing for until like, I think like 2020, because I finished my master's in end of 2019. And I think the like 3rd of January 2020, so about like 3 years ago today, I had an interview for a final round of like a graduate manager job. It was at Aldi supermarket. They actually pay quite good. It's like, can go up to like it's like a 60K salary, can move up to like a 6-figure salary, company car. I was like, oh, this will be great. And I was like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, take it. So she's like, you take that. I can do more of like the coaching stuff. You know, we were almost still in that kind of like not believing in ourselves mindset, like, let's take the kind of job. And my uncle actually said to me, he knew someone who did it, and he was like, ooh, because I thought he would be proud of me. I was like, oh, think I'm getting this job, like really good salary, really good company car, thinking he would be like really proud. And he was like, ooh, to know about that. He's like, they'll like take over your life. And I remember going away being like quite offended and being like to my sister, I thought he'd be like happier about it. But it actually planted a seed in my head, and I said it made me think. And the day before the interview, I remember going down to my parents and saying, like, look, I'm not going into that interview tomorrow. I want to pursue accomplish. I want to give it like my full effort. And really decided from that moment on. At that time, Kay was still working full-time in hospital. So then I kind of knew, okay, for it to be a full-time thing, like, we both need to be full-time at it. Like, she can't be full-time in hospital. So that took a few days or weeks of convincing.
You got an ultimatum a few times, didn't you?
Yeah. but she kind of made that commitment to herself. and also decided to hand in like a 2-month notice. And would you believe the day that her final day in the hospital was, so officially the day we were taking Accomplished full time, was that night we were celebrating with Domino's Pizza. On the news, there was an announcement for the first ever 2-week lockdown in Ireland. So gyms were shut in, everyone was freaking out. Kay was like, what the hell? I just left a pension job to take up this fitness thing, and now the gyms are closed. So
Scary,
so
so
like
scary.
panic central. So yeah, that's how we got to
When was that? Was that in the March?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
March.
March, yeah.
March.
Yeah.
Shit. So I guess, like, I guess kind of like looking at, so Kate, obviously you were kind of, you had a full-time job and everything like that, and Conor, you were studying. I kind of want to dive into kind of like obviously your own physical kind of like accomplishments as well and things like that. Because obviously Kate, you were the first figure, is that right? IFBB Pro?
First wellness IFBB Pro, yeah.
That's it. So I guess kind of when did you guys become bodybuilding, if that sense? When was your first show and things like that? And obviously this spirals into your career as well.
I think for me it was actually watching Conor, because like you said, he was so disciplined from like a younger age. So he already had this physique that he was like developing and building. For me, I was just obsessed with like, you know, still learning, I was still growing. I was really more powerlifting focused actually.
Okay.
I had like a small obsession with that. Actually quite a big obsession. I'd only train like I was only doing that. But like Conor, I remember he was like, I'm gonna go for like my first show. And I remember being like, okay, like I didn't know anything about bodybuilding really, to be honest with you, because I was super fresh, still in the industry. And I said to Conor, like, go for it. This is before Accomplished Fitness, this is before like everything.
Yeah.
And Conor was like, okay, like I remember he did his first show. And I remember being like so amazed. I was like, what is this new world? Because I was so used to stage. I was so used to performance. I was like, oh, I want to do this. After I saw a show, I was like, I need to do it. I was amazed. I was taking videos of the girls. I was like, right. But if I get something in my head, and like I was kind of saying from earlier years of my life, if I get something in my head that I want to do, I will not stop until I get there. I've never been someone who's like taking a step back, or I need to take a break, or I need a breather, or like that doesn't come into my mind. It's like I'm gonna just ram it up levels until I get to like where I need to go to. And I did that. So I saw him compete. It was incredible, like seeing how fulfilled he was from it. Like it was amazing. And then we kind of started to do it together. So it's almost like Conor inspired me to push, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And then after that, we kind of started, he more so started pushing like my training, and I was looking after my food. I prepped myself actually for years. I don't recommend. So I did it for years myself, and every show I kind of did, I was winning them. I was winning shows like every time. My first show was the national. I came third. After that, it was either first or seconds, like non-stop. So I was very used to being, I'm highly competitive, so I can't deal with anything less. So for me, if I'm going all in at something, I'm all in. Even if I'm a year out from a show, I'll be like, right, I only have this amount of days. Like I'm very hyper focused. So and especially I always felt like I've had a point to prove. You know, I've had a point to prove, and I still always feel that way for myself, not for validation from anyone else. But I feel like after all those turning points, I did fitness modeling first, moved out of that, moved into bodybuilding, and then that was a success that I didn't really expect immediately, but it just like happened. And then made Irish history. So yeah, it's pretty amazing how, I don't really know, looking back, it's kind of crazy.
What year did you win your pro card?
2021. 2022. No, 2021.
Yeah,
21.
Okay, so not last year, the year before. Yeah.
Year 4. Yeah, we're in 2023.
Well, like October last year.
We're in 2023.
Like the year before.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah.
Like 14 months ago.
Yeah. October 2021. Okay.
Perfect. Cool. And then, do you know what? I think it's amazing as well. Like, I generally like, I think number one, the fact that you were kind of not, like so young when you got together, and your lives have both evolved so naturally together, but like you are like the ultimate like yin and yang. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it is, but it works so well because it's like you can kind of, even from like personalities on a day-to-day basis, like you can see it. Like Conor definitely keeps you calm, Kate, and things like that, and then vice versa. Like Conor's probably a little bit too chilled, so then Kate's like hyper focused. So then, do you know what I mean? So it's amazing how this, like, I guess that typical word that everyone wants in life, this balance, right? And you kind of balance each other out extremely well. But it's obviously taken years and years of actually you going, oh, okay, now I know how you tick and work, and you'll probably do it every day still. I guess. So you guys got accomplished in 2017, is that right? And then that was when it was official. So 2 weeks, and then obviously lockdown hit.
Yeah.
How was it? How was obviously like you, because that you've handed in your notice and then you've gone all in. I guess this is where it comes into it. Like, how did you both react with each other? What was that moment like and things like that?
Obviously, like that initial, I think that month of March, it was just like everyone was a bit like just anxious. What the hell
going on?
Everyone just kind of stalled. But I genuinely believe from like April onwards, it was like one of the best things that like ever happened to us, because actually in that January, one of the reasons she put in her notice was because we said we'd move to Dubai. So we were actually planning to potentially move to Dubai that year, but we definitely wouldn't have been able for it, for how much we were making, for the size of it, for the systems we had in place. So almost COVID lockdown coming in and putting it on hold for a year and allowing us just tunnel vision, focus, put the head down, work our asses off to kind of build for our future was like the best thing that ever could have happened. And I know you brought up Mark, like that would be one thing that I'm like hugely kind of thankful that we did, because just in that February, we decided to join Mark for like 6 months at the time, and it was one of the best things that we ever did. And again, even when I talk to people on like a day-to-day basis, when I talk about like commitment, and you know, if people want to like commit short term, we had committed for 6 months, and that allowed us to be like, okay, we're not giving up on ourselves. We're not saying like, oh, can we have can we cancel? Can we do this? It's like, no, like we bought in for this for 6 months. So we're all in on this. Like, let's make it happen. That happened for a reason, and let's go all in. And I think when you look from like a fitness sense and a personal sense, when you have that relationship potentially with a coach, if it's one of your clients listening, it's like when you have that, if you have a bad day, if you have a bad week, you're going to show up for yourself. You're going to show up for yourself, and you don't have that option just to opt out because you've had that level of commitment. So that's something from that moment that I'm now so strong on, because I'm like, that has completely changed our life. So I want to, impact and completely change other people's life in a similar way,
I think you nailed it on the head, where like, it's remarkable when that's a promise I've actually, like, as much as I New Year's, right? I was like, you guys actually, but it's perfect timing, really. Like, we're only like not even a week into this new year, and Kate's kind of personality and both of you together have kind of, I gave myself a word this year, and I just wanted it's like, right, what word can I give myself this year that I'm going to live by every day? And you guys are the definition of that. In that 6 months was just relentless, and that was what I wanted. Like, I'm like, right, I've got a year and a half this year, whatever it is, I'm just going to be relentless. That's it. Every day, just relentless. And like you say, it's amazing what can be done in 6 months if you just like head down and just go. Like, your lives changed. People know, like your clients and your team will know, like, fuck me, my life can change in 3 months. So what can we do with 6 months? It's phenomenal. And it kind of frustrates me. It's probably the same as you guys. Like, just 6 months of your life, go all in and just give it everything you've got, because you guys know the outcome of what can happen from that, which is
like, I think a big thing for me is I very like to watch. I think too many people like you know, when you see online, they're glamorizing things and they're doing all of that and, you know, making things very shiny and this is what you can do or whatever. But for me, I like to make it like very black and white and very normal. Like I will tell you, you are going to have shit days. You are going to have them. You're going to have days where you don't want to get your meals in. You're going to have days where you don't want to train. You don't want to get out of bed. That's very normal. We all have them. And like I have them. Any top athlete, any top business person, they all have hard times. But like it's positive realism, and I live by that. It's like what is life teaching you at that time? It's teaching you how to become more resilient and sharper towards what you truly want, because it's giving you a choice, right? So you have the choice whether you push and surpass that emotion, or whether you sit back and let life take over and your mind and you're just in a ball. So you have that option. And only you can control that. No one can tell you, oh, you could just do this, do that. It's not anyone's choice, it's yours. So you have that power. And that's, I think, what's kind of built us, and especially me with fitness, because I always felt like I had a point to prove, because I think from younger being kind of mocked about being skinny and all of that crap, you know, everyone kind of has it when you're younger. I've always felt like I had a point to prove for myself, to be like, you know what, like you can say all this stuff, you can be this, you can do that, but I'm gonna show you what like I can do. And I think that's where it's come from, like and I feel like if people can adopt that emotion and understand that like you don't have, nothing is perfect, everyone's life is different, everyone, how they show it online or to you in person is different, but the reality is everyone's normal and has bad days too. So it's your choice what you do with it, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think you guys can relate to this. I think that's the lovely thing about sport and fitness in general. Like people look up to athletes and they idolize people, right? Like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and all these like Kobe Bryant, whatever it is, David Beckham and things like that. And like, how have they done it? Like, how are they so successful in other areas of their life? Like, then they open up an alcohol business, or they got like Jordan fucking franchise, right? But I think the great thing is obviously everyone sees accomplished what it is now, but you guys were building it from, Conor was building it from 16, 15 years old. You were building it from 21 years old, right? The lovely thing that obviously you teach to your teams and your clients as well is that fitness gives you everything, because you have to show up, you have to do it, you have to get up, especially with bodybuilding, right? Like, it's like, I don't want to do this cardio, but it has to be done. And if you can just show up every day, just do the little things, even though it's shit, even though it is shit and you don't want to do it. But if you can just get up, make your bed, brush your teeth, put a podcast in the morning and go for a walk, you're fucking doing well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the nice thing, what fitness just teaches you. It just teaches you to show up regardless.
Yeah.
And then that's what builds businesses and that things like that. Like the foundation of a business, I'm like, work hard, be consistent, do the shit you don't want to do. Like, and repeat.
Exactly. But you know, I think the funny thing for me as well is, you know, a lot of people would say, oh my God, pro cards, that's amazing, like how, like the pro cards. So like, even taking it back to that, I weirdly never ever thought about having a pro card, you know, never. No. And even like if you ask like Phoebe, like obviously like one of my very close friends who is an incredible pro and like Olympian now, but like she'll even tell you, like I was training with her for quite a long time. Never once did I ever speak about I want a pro card. I just love training and I just love doing what I need to because I want to be bigger, I want to be better. And I feel like a lot of people, if people watching who are obsessed with bodybuilding with this, I think a big thing with that, it goes hand in hand, like same as business. So if you just love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, don't chase the outcome, or don't obsess over that moment, or I have to win an overall, or I have to do this. It's like, you just need to bring the best version of you over time, enjoy the journey, grow and learn a lot about yourself in the process. That's how I feel like that's why a lot of people get like sad, or you see them have like post-show blues, or they get lost in the journey because they're so fixated on one thing that they forgot that what is bodybuilding teaching you? It's teaching you how to learn from yourself. It's teaching you how to grow, learn from challenges, surpass emotion. but you forget all of that because all you're doing is obsessing over a card. It's like a child at Christmas, all they want is a toy, you know. So it's like, if you look at it, bodybuilding is how you see it, business is how you see it. If you look at it a way that makes you happy and you do it in a way that's comfortable for you, you will be successful no matter what you do. And that's in anything in life. So I feel that's a really important thing to show, because some people say like work hard, grind, and it's like, okay, work hard, grind for you, but what does that mean to someone else? So do it in your version and you will get there.
Yeah.
You know?
It was funny. I think Conor said it to me. It was a while. It wasn't, well, I say a while ago, probably wasn't that long ago. And he was just, I think it was almost, I can't remember what we were talking about. It was very reassuring at the time. And he was just like, are you doing better than you were 6 months ago? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, just keep going. But it's little things like that. I think a lot of the time is that we all do. We're all guilty of it, right? We're like, we want to achieve X, Y, and Z. We have goals we want to achieve. But if I told you, okay, Conor, 2023, you're going to be sat down. You've got a team of coaches working for you. You're going to be living in Dubai. You're going to be living in this gorgeous apartment. You're going to have a lovely car, whatever it is. And you'll be like, yeah, that'll make me happy. I'll be so fulfilled. I'll achieved everything by then. And then you're probably sat there in the situation you are now, ticked all those boxes, and you're like, yeah, we still got a shit ton of work to do, haven't we? But that's the nice thing. It's just, you're so, because like you say, you love what you do on a daily basis, 90% of it. There's 10% there's 10% we don't fucking like. But like, it's just this never-ending journey. And I'm like, I'm never gonna finish. I'm never gonna make it. Like, I know that now. So I'm like, just like you said, Kay, I'm just like, just keep doing what you love. Like right now it's fitness for us. It's fitness and it's business and whatever it is. 5 years time, it might be rally car driving. I don't know. Like who knows? It probably wouldn't be, but who knows? But I think as long as you're just doing what you're, and like, I kind of, like you said at the beginning, Kate, like you're not supposed to like leave school at 19, 20, know exactly what you want to do. I just know now this is what I want to do. But if I know that, it's going to open up different directions and different doors for me. And like, this shit's really cool. I'm going to do this. And then you're like, I actually don't do this fitness shit anymore. And it kind of just goes into the background.
Yeah.
So I guess, go on, I don't know if you're going to say something off the back of that. So it's fine.
Just one thing on that I think it was a huge lesson for me this year. And I think sometimes as coaches, and you know, like a really early on thought as a coach that you try to teach a client is like, if you think you'll be happy when you have a six-pack and you're not happy now, you won't be any happier. But I think you actually have to relearn that throughout life. And it was something I actually had to check myself with this year when you're chasing progress in like different areas and success and business and stuff like that. And I kind of had to check myself and sit down and say, okay, you're kind of being that person you were when you were 15, 16, thinking you'd be happy with a six-pack. So I think like life is like an ever learning thing. And I think when you learn one skill, it doesn't mean that you don't have to relearn it in the future. So I think that self-awareness that you touched on is really important, because when we get to different levels, like throughout our journey, we're going to face different challenges. We're going to have different distractions or different things we might be seeking. So there's a good chance some of those things that we used to have that we have to work on, we have to work on them again. So I think never having a mindset that 100% and you have it all figured out, because something that used to be something that you had figured out can creep back up on you. And that was a big thing for me this year. And I think that's just important to know, because even though I'm so much about, focus on the process, not the outcome, I think, again, everyone has to go through points where they have to really kind of check themselves,
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? It's like when your life evolves, sometimes you forget, like you say, those beginning lessons that actually keep you very humble and very grounded. And it's a bit like anything, right? Like if you're on a leg press and you start loading it too heavy and you're like, I'm just not going as deep as I used to, because you just let those little like things just go, I'm strong now. Sort of. Instead of being like, well, no, actually, let's pull it all back. Let's relearn it and let's progress then and drive that momentum going forward again. I think that's the nice thing about fitness as well. Again, like training, I'm like, relate towards training. As long as you're progressively getting better with anything, doesn't matter. Like you say, like personal life can be your tempo, I don't know, and then adding a rep on could be business or something along those. As long as those all go up over time, who gives a fuck? Like,
Exactly.
so it's absolutely.
Yeah. People put way too much pressure on themselves. I'm like, why is everything so intense? You know, like
Yeah.
even people like clients who will say to me like, oh my God, I need to do this show because this and this and this. And I'm like, whoa, like, why do we need to do this? You know, like, take your time with things. And I'll say it to friends, I'll say it to anyone who, same advice, like just take your time with life. I think everyone is feels like they're so pressured right now that they have to be this and they have to be there. And I think one thing for me is I don't actually really care what anyone is doing. I'll be like super supportive and I'll be all for that, but I'm not going to compare myself. I'm not going to, like people online. Would I have won my pro card if I was looking at all these Brazilian girls competing against me? Definitely not, So like, I don't care who's competing against me because you can't do anything about it. You need to strive for better for yourself, like forget everyone and keep the pace at the level that you want. You don't need to be where someone else is, focus on you. And again, that's the whole reason I feel for our success in sport and business is because we just do our own thing, really, to be honest.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the quicker you can do that, it's definitely something that the last 6 months I've learned a lot more. I'm just like, just put your head down and just do you. Yeah. Just fucking do you. And I think like I was all very much, I think I kept burning out like quite often. It could be like almost like it felt like every other day. I'm just feel tired, just feel a bit drained. And then I was like, I'm trying to go 100 miles an hour all the time. And I'm like, actually, let's just do 80. Like, at the end of the day, it's a longevity game. Like whoever can do it the longest wins, sort of thing. Especially with like fitness and bodybuilding. Like, cool, we know when we start preps, we go 100. But why am I trying to do 100 now? Because it's not fucking healthy and it'll burn you out. And I think that was what's nice have it when you guys had the family over for 2 weeks, sort of thing. It's like shit, it forces you to kind of go 80 for that time period. It's amazing. You bring the dog in, it's cool.
Yeah, I know the dog's having just a bit of a fit in the background. She's feeling a bit left out, I think. But that's the thing. But like, there's a time and a place to push, and I feel like a lot of people. Like I'm a very successful bodybuilder, and I'm very proud of all my achievements. And it's something I preach even to my own clients. We've been very successful with bodybuilders. We've been very successful in that area. But we're that way because you're all in on prep, right? You're all in. But also when you're out of prep, first thing is managing your emotion around food and making sure you're stable, the most important thing. Why are you not going out? Like, why are you not enjoying your life? Like, bodybuilding should complement your life. It shouldn't add hindrance to your life. So yeah, there's going to be more points where it's challenging, normal. But also if you're going out for dinner on a Saturday night and you want to have a drink, can you do that? Yeah, I am definitely not for the mindset that you have to be like 365 days of the year sitting there with chicken and Tupperware if you want to turn pro, because I didn't do it that way. So I don't believe that you have to, like be fully like that all of the time. There's a time and a place to be 110, and that's majority of the time. But one night a week where you want to just chill out and you just want to relax and you just want to have a meal, like why can't you do that one night a week without pressure? And when you start to be calmer, I bet your body's going to look better. I bet you're going to be happier and you're going to enjoy your journey more. So I think that's also an important one for people.
100%. Conor, what was because you were on like when it wasn't recently, you were on stage as well, right? Because you went to the US and things like that.
Yeah, so because I competed at the same show when Kate won her pro card, so that was probably like my 4th year of competing. Yeah. So for me, I've definitely had a different journey to Kate, but it kind of from listening to her on this podcast, actually, it's kind of showing me like our two personalities, how we work. Like Kate's that, as you said, like energetic, high strong, like she gets the work done, and she she shows up and she's usually really kind of successful at what she does. For me, and that kind of big structure, that big discipline that I came from, was always knowing I wasn't that like talented, I wasn't that like naturally kind of gifted at anything. So I always had that idea that I know I'm going to show up and I'm probably not going to be the best. So that's kind of what happened. You know, my first show in 2016, Miami Pro. I think you've done a Miami Pro as well. Didn't place in the show, and I remember going back to the hotel room and like bawling my eyes out in the bed, and like very, very upset. But again, it didn't actually kind of waver my mindset at all. It actually just improved it in terms of like, wait, I'm coming back and I'm getting better. And that led to the next year getting a 4th place. To be honest, still really, really disappointed at that time. But at 2018, so 2 years after, I went back to, it was a pure elite, and I won like the overall world title. So getting like the overall world title against like 15 of the winners. And that moment was like a huge, huge milestone in my life. Again, you know, I think different federations, different shows. For me at that time, it wasn't a huge deal. It was like, wow, I've come from 2 years ago, going back to my hotel room and being a nobody, getting absolutely nothing, and feeling like, you know, I won't be remembered at all, to 2 years later being picked right at the end of the show for winning the whole thing. And that was a huge, huge moment for me, because that was one of the first moments outside of education where I said, your hard work will pay off. Because I put in crazy, crazy hard work up until 2018. And I probably didn't have much to reflect on it from like a sporting and a fitness level. Okay, my physique was okay. But in terms of actually like accomplishments, I didn't really have anything. And there was so much work put in. So that was like a huge, huge moment for me where it's like, okay, because everyone says, oh, if you work for it, you'll get it. Oh, if you work for it, you'll get it. Up until then, I've been working my ass off and I haven't got shit. So that was like the first moment for me, was like, okay, it actually can happen. Like, you actually can make yourself, you know, be one of the best and be successful. So now like 2016 to 2018 was probably like the most pivotal part of my kind of competing journey.
Yeah. And then because then you went on stage in 2020. Did you have a good time off then?
Yeah, so I did 2019, I did WBFF. So that was kind of like the progression of the muscle model. So WBFF is like it's kind of gone down a bit in the last 2 or 3 years, but back like 2018 to 2020.
It was just shit. It was so cool.
So I did WBFF London. I came second in the muscle model.
Which is huge.
That's at the O2, right? As well. That's a big, like,
yeah,
big
that was at the O2. Yeah. So it was a big show. So was happy with that. Then that was 2019. Then didn't get back on stage for 2 years. One, because of COVID. So I went to America in 2021. Did a regional show that I didn't peak for, because it was like 5 days before Amateur Olympia, and I came like second out of like 22 guys. So I was going into the Amateur Olympia actually like really, really confident. But then did Amateur Olympia and didn't place. So didn't get a top 5 in Amateur O. And it's funny because I kind of look back on it now and I say how big confidence can actually be in terms of like important for you mentally. Let's say if I ended the show at that regional, I was okay, I'm just doing the regional, I'm going to compete in 2022 or 2023. In my head, I'd be like, I'm a really good men's physique guy, really good, came second out of 2022, guys didn't even peak, I'm a really good guy.
Yeah.
Then I go to Amateur Olympia and I didn't place, and I have this whole different perception of how good I am I capable, will I be good enough? So when people are kind of wondering about like shows and like where they should start, or I think like stepping stones is such an important thing. I think if you can get in and build confidence, because any of the top guys now, I guarantee you, they were winning the small shows. They were the junior champion. They were this, they were that, and they worked their way up all the time, because momentum, confidence, and stepping stones are so important. So that would be kind of one take home I would take, is like, I probably, for my second men's physique show, maybe shouldn't have done like the biggest show in the whole calendar, Amateur Olympia Bay or Orlando. So yeah, that's like one kind of take home I'd have from like my competing journey. Take your time, stepping stones, win small shows, get super confident, and take that momentum, and you will kind of flourish in terms of like moving up.
I kind of think I always like, I kind of love that. It sounds so funny, but it's kind of nice to get your ass kicked as well, though.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, it's almost like, shit, this is what happened to me back in those pure league days.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing it as like NPC, I'm doing it as kind of IFBB league sort of thing. So you're just like, fuck, all right, cool. So now like, all right, just give me 2 more years because I know I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of thing,
Exactly.
which is great. So I guess that leads me on kind of coming towards the end, but what's the plans for this year for both of you? Like, what's the mission for you? I won't say goals because it's probably rinse and repeat, get better at what you're doing sort of thing. And obviously you've got micro goals, but personally, like what do you both of you kind of want to achieve in your own personal lives together as team accomplished as well? What's this year looking like for you?
I think for personally, I think like what's my New Year's goal? It's like always just be better. Like that's the same thing. I just like you said, rinse and repeat. But like I am at a point now where like I've turned pro. I had a few like back seats this week or this year, like with like health things and you know family and everything like that. But I still was moving at a pace, just not the one that I'm usually used to. So I feel like I've even more fire to like prove to myself now. So I'm pretty hungry, I'm not gonna lie. So for this year, I think it's just like being absolutely relentless. I don't put any pressure on a show because I never do. I never decide on a show like I'm doing this, I'm doing that. If when I'm ready, I will say, right, let's go. And until then, I feel like my job this year is just to fucking do what I need to do to feel like I'm the best version of me and that I've improved. And until then, I'm not going to be satisfied. So that's my little goal right now.
Awesome. No, I love it. It's good. Connor, what are we up to?
Okay, so for me, it's kind of an interesting time because I am going through like a bit of an internal transition. And it was something I actually speak to Kate about. And again, something I haven't mentioned, but I'm kind of happy to mention them here is like almost feeling like a less form of identity in who I used to be. I used to want to be like the best fitness coach, everything like that. And something that Mark said at his thing that struck a chord, it was like scaling your impact. So for me, I've turned into, instead of wanting to personally be the best coach, I want my fitness business and brand to be the biggest, best brand that it can be. So for me, that brings a completely different role because if I still want to be the best coach, this will never be the biggest and best brand. So taking a complete step back in that standpoint and working in a way more of a CEO role in terms of kind of like delegating and managing. So that's a huge thing that I'm doing currently in the background. But at the same time as that, you still, you know, want to be kind of pursuing something at the forefront. And as I said, the fitness side of thing compared to the business is now kind of completely away. So that's definitely a path I want to go down and kind of explore more into like business coaching and business mentoring. But an important lesson that I'm really, really strong on actually is never kind of jumping things too early. I think people kind of will be doing one thing, it's going really well, and they're like, oh, I want to do this, or they jump. And so many people are jumping everywhere and doing everything. And for me, I'm like, okay, I could start doing that now because I'm really passionate about it and I'd absolutely love it. But is that going to serve Kate, the brand, my team of coaches, all my clients, and where Team Accomplished is going the best way? It wouldn't, because if Team Accomplished doesn't have my 100% focus right now, you know, that's not positive for where I'm at.
Yeah.
But it's kind of getting to a point where I continue to delegate, continue to hire people in the right positions, where I can take a step back and say, okay, it's now running at a point where I'm only doing a small bit of work per day, and I actually have now the time on my hands to give it to something else. And that's probably like a huge thing that's like really instilled in me. It's like, put all your effort into something, put all your energy into it. If it's progressing, don't just stop when it gets hard and be like, I'll do something else as well. So I'll do 50-50. No, like double down on it. Yeah. Progress, get relentless. Like as you said, just get relentless at that one thing, and it's going to serve you so much better. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I'm kind of going through that transition, which is interesting one because it's not something I've experienced for a good few years, but probably for like 10 or so years. But dealing with it, managing it, and that's what I'm kind of working on.
No, it's amazing, man. Because honestly, that can be a really like, quite unsettling as well. Because it's like it's so out your comfort. It's like you're like, but it's like we said, you're going towards that passion. Like you're like, I'm just like, just run with it. Just run with it. Like you
Yeah.
said, don't rush with it, but just run with it. I'm like, I'm enjoying it. So let me just follow that mental. I had the same thing, like coming from kayaking, and I was like, and then transitioning to fitness. I was like, fuck, from 11 years old, I was known as this like superstar of the UK who's going to go further, and all this sort of stuff. And then you're like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, from like 11 years old till 21, you have this label that no one's put on you, you put on yourself, sort of thing. And then you think, oh fucking hell, will anyone like respect you or whatever it is? But actually it's just, now you've got shit ton of knowledge and experience under your belt, which is the most important thing. No, I'm excited for you, man. That's gonna be amazing. Sick. Good on you. And it's just like, yeah, just run with it. And enjoy every second. So it's awesome. So it's cool. And to close off, sadly, a little bit of a tradition. I can't even speak today. Tradition. Because it's the 1% podcast. What is the one thing you can give someone that is going to take them 1% further forward tomorrow? What is that one little thing? Could be a sentence, could be a word, could be another 5-minute talk, whatever you want it to be.
Oh, that's on the spot, isn't it?
Is most of the listeners, are they kind of fitness? Are they more like business coaching?
This can be life, this can be fitness, this can be anything. Maybe just one thing that's going to help someone get a little bit better tomorrow, that 1%.
Okay, so I wrote something down just before, so it's in my mind. So might not be relatable to everyone, but something that's like super relatable. I think when it comes to like looking to, like, let's say invest in something, everyone's looking to, okay, what stocks are good, what funds are good, should I do this, should I do that? The best thing that you will ever invest in is yourself, your own development, your own future. Nothing exponentially will give you more return than that. So stop looking for the right fund, stop looking for this, stop looking for that. If not first, you're doing something for yourself. So that's something I put in a huge amount this year, was like, I just want to invest in an A team in terms of our business. I want to hire the right people, and that will 100% get a better return than looking at doing something else. And I think from a coaching perspective, I see so many people, they'll stop being coached. They're like, oh, I need to save money. I'm not going to get coached myself. I'll just do it myself. Or I'm not going to go to this mentor. I'm not going to do this. If you actually invest into you and that team, that's going to help you exponentially. So that would be my take home on something.
I like that. 54 or 55 episodes in, no one said that. So it's good.
Okay.
Sick, we're good. Kate, yours has been stolen. What are you going to go?
Yeah, oh my God, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think I am very much someone who, like, again, like I kind of been talking about it throughout the podcast, but like if you're someone who's not where you want to be now, you can actually get there. So stop like obsessing of living through others on like social media and feeling like, oh, I'm not there, like they're there, I'm not there, because it happens way too often and it's such a common trend. So instead, if you stop living through others and start living on what you need to do for you and focus on like your lane and your journey and your pace, that's where you're going to see happiness and fulfillment, not living through others and seeing where they are and you're not there, and looking at your favorite fitness influencer, like who cares what they're doing, you're not them. So focus on your development and your pursuit, and invest and be happy and content in what you're doing for you, and that's where you're really going to see return and flourish in terms of your own journey.
Yeah, amazing. Honestly, guys, absolutely perfect. Incredible way to end the episode. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Obviously, if anyone wants to stalk you, find out about accomplishing things like that, what's the best way to kind of get hold of you guys, or to stalk you, I guess?
Well, you can find us on Instagram. Team Accomplished is the main Instagram. You can find Conor, very easy, Conor with one N.
Yeah.
Because everyone gets that confused. Conor, one N.
Okay, that's
one
good.
N, yeah.
I probably would have put two.
It's all UK people always have to
people just do two.
Yeah, so
really?
we're used to it when all our friends are from the UK. So Conor with one N, at Team Accomplished, and it's Kate, Team Accomplished. Super easy. You can find us on Instagram or YouTube.
Amazing, cool. And your YouTube's, is that under Team Accomplished?
Team Accomplished. Yeah, we're very easy with the names. You know, just keep it simple.
Simple branding. There you go. Well,
that's it.
Guys, I will put all of Kate's and Connor's and Team Accomplished stuff in the description boxes below on YouTube and obviously all the podcasts. Guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And we'll see you in the gym tomorrow, right?